Okay, so thanks for taking the time on a Thursday afternoon to join our live demo with Q&A. On today's sessions, we're going to be looking at Quallie.Ai on a live project. So this is a project that I've been conducting myself with some members of the team. We're going to be looking at a number of real interviews with real participants, and we'll do a bit of a live analysis session. So you can see how we've personally used it as part of a workflow. In terms of context, as you can see my screen, we talk a lot about being on the side of good work, and we talk about this idea of good work, which to us, it's something that's really important in the era of AI, where everything is speeding up. How do we stay close to the craft of good insights and qualitative research? So hopefully throughout this presentation and demo, you will get a sense of how the platform helps you do that. On a high level, Quallie is a tool to transcribe and translate your interviews. So you bring your recordings to it. We support all sorts of video formats, whether it's in-person ethnography, an online session, focus group as well. We can transcribe and translate in over 50 languages. So we have a lot of users that are doing global studies in Europe and Asia Pacific as well. What the tool does on a basic level is helping you extract findings and quotes in a really simple way and retrieve the important information really quickly and easily, as well as creating video clips in seconds. So this really helps you bring your research to life, including exciting video content as part of your presentations. We are working with some of the leading brands and in-house research teams. I'm sure you're familiar with some of those logos. And one of my favorite quotes from a researcher at Chief of Staff at Stripe Partners is, Quallie.Ai feels like a second brain, right? So I can just ask the questions of the data, spend more time reflecting of what I learned and not tending to the tool and tending to the coding like I found myself doing in the past. So without further ado, I'm going to share now a different screen and take you through a live demo of the platform. We will have some time for Q&A at the end, so feel free to prepare any questions that you might have. Sorry, wrong screen. Or if something is urgent, feel free to unmute or raise your hand or pop a question in the chat as well. So this is our website, Quallie.Ai. We are an AI analysis platform for qualitative research. As I mentioned, once you sign in, this is what your workspace will look like. We are effectively a research repository where you can store all of your data and research across different folders and different projects inside each folder. As I mentioned today, we're going to be looking at this project on surf culture, where we've conducted 15 in-depth interviews with people on the topic of surfing. So the surfing as in the sport of surfing, not necessarily web surfing. And those are an hour-long conversations on a variety of topics. We've talked about surf culture, how it's evolving. We've talked about the role of technology in culture as well. So I'm going to open one of those interviews to show you how it looks. All right, so here we're looking at James. So in an ideal world, right, we, as researchers, we would love to have the time to listen back to every single interviews that has been conducted. And Quallie enables you to do that. So for instance, wherever I click is going to play back the interview from that moment. So I'm going to listen back some of what James has to say.
Surfing, got interested in it. And so me and my family were in Dubai, and my uncle moved from Zimbabwe.
So we can see he's talking about his surfing experience in Zimbabwe. He's talking about moving to Portugal.
Portugal is definitely one of the top, handful.
So I can manually, obviously, scroll through my interview and look for interesting things that have been mentioned. Another very helpful way to sort of speed up the way in which I sort of digest this transcription is to look at the summary on the side here. So I can see different themes emerging, right? So the session has clearly been structured in a way that talks about the introduction, the progression in the sport, the relationship with the surfboards and the quiver. Quiver is a name for the collection of boards. Again, so the types of board that this person owns, technology and culture. So for this particular session, I want to show you how I use Quallie to then actually create a couple of starting thoughts and slides for a potential report. And I want to write, for example, I want to show you, I've prepared this report where I want to have a big insight on surf culture. And I'm going to show you how I use the tool to navigate to a point where I have a big insight on the topic, and how I'm going to fill out a couple of those slides with a few learnings. So on surf culture, if I look at James's interview, he clearly identifies the dual nature of modern surf culture as an expanding and global, bringing people together, but also commercialized and social media-driven fashion, right? So if I look at this, he's talking about it right here.
Travel surfer or the average surfer, they're not really doing it for the love of surfing, for the love of, you could say, the love of the ocean, the love of...
And you can see how quickly by clicking on this highlight, it took me to minute 29. And from here, I can create a video clip of this particularly interesting topic where he's saying they're not really doing it for the love of surfing, and sharing waves is more of a fashion as opposed to a culture. So I'm going to highlight this, and I'm going to create a folder for my video clips that I want to make into a little film. I'm going to call this surf culture. All I'm going to do is click create, and it will turn this into a clip that is now loading. It's a 14-second clip. It was named automatically based on the content. So surfing, passion versus fashion. So I can potentially do the same and look at other people's interviews. For instance, let's have a look at Jack. Jack also spoke about surf culture. And he also talked about the dual nature of surf culture. So if I click here, we can see that the moderator asked about what comes to mind when I say surf culture, and he has to say, unfortunately, aggression and localism, there's a negative side to it.
Unfortunately, I have to say aggression, a little bit of like localism.
So you can see how we can explore those themes through our summaries. Now, a quicker way to do it that leverages, say, artificial intelligence and the platform a bit more is to do it through this question grid interface where I can actually type, for example, what does surf culture mean to you? And ask that question. What this does, it generates an answer for each participant, which I then can analyze. In the interest of time, I already asked this question earlier, so we can open the answer grid here. And as you can see, it gave us the same respondents, right? James and Jack, for instance, but with a lot more detail, right? And again, I can use this hyperlinking system to see exactly what was discussed. When I click here, surfing has become more of a fashion. I can see that the highlight I've done earlier is still here as a clip. But I can also navigate other points. So personal impact, acknowledgement of the mixed aspects. And I can look at, let's say, Jack talking about aggression and localism. So I'm going to create this into a clip that I'm also going to save into surf culture. We have someone talking about surf culture, a shared mindset, and a global community.
It's different from the mindset of the people that don't surf. Let's say we are very similar between us, a kind of adventure.
So this is a good example because with the transcription, we use very high quality transcription services, but sometimes there can be mistakes where there are accents, for example. So here I can easily come and edit this word. She's clearly said surf, not serve. So I can simply click on it and edit it, as you can see. So going back to my big insight on surf culture, right? What am I learning from these answers? Is that obviously there's some topics around surfing being a lifestyle, the idea of soul surfing, surf culture as a spectrum, is both competitive and relaxing. We heard about the dual nature of surf culture. Now, if I want to get a read across all of my participants, this is the question we've just asked together, which is now loaded, right, with all of my answers. I can use my first answer card to generate an overview and read across all of my answers. And this is going to give us an initial thematic analysis of all the themes discussed around surf culture. The main difference between doing this through Quallie versus, say, ChatGPT or Gemini is that we're getting a lot more precision, excuse me, and accuracy, because by default, we're going to generate an answer for each participant. So you know that any topic that's related to surf culture will be addressed in these individual answer cards before it's generated as an overview. So for anyone joining late, we are looking at Quallie.Ai applied to a project on surf culture, and we're looking at how it generated an overview around the themes on surf culture here. So if I had to think about a big insight, for example, for me is that there is an element of it's something immersive and imaginative. It's a bit of a lifestyle, right? But there is a dark side to it in a way. So if I had to write it in a slide, it would be something like, surfing is immersive and imaginative, but there is a dark side to it, right? So let's explore that dual nature of surf culture. And this is what I mean when we talk about being in control of the insight. Is like, I am the one that's creating this narrative rather than having a tool write it for me. I'm exploring, I'm clicking through all of my evidence, I'm playing back all of my evidence before writing something into a PowerPoint. What I'd like to show you next is something that's emerging here. Let's have a look at these overviews, right? So we're looking, one of the points that's coming up consistently is localism. So for those of you who haven't heard of it, is how it's linked to how increased popularity in the sport leads to crowded lineups and in-water conflicts that reduce the enjoyment and can be unsafe. Right? So again, this is a high-level summary of what 7 people mentioned. And if I click here, I can listen back to what my respondents are saying on the topic.
Mainly like lineups getting crowded takes away a lot of the fun. And you can notice it here and you see that some of the locals are getting pissed off,
Right, so this is a great quote. I'm gonna clip it and again, save it in my surf culture file. Let's have a look at someone else, Jennifer.
Think about surf culture. I think about all of the history that's come before this time. Where surfing
Connecting to the beach.
See a lot of guys trying to drop in on me because they see that I'm a girl and they think that I'm not good and I can't.
Right, so we're getting some themes here around some sort of gendered access, and here people being unwelcoming. So there is that, again, that negative element of surf culture coming through. Here's an interesting one I'm going to show you. It's somebody we've interviewed in a different language, so in Italian. And let's have a look at what he's saying. So here he's speaking in Italian, but just with one click, I can translate the interview into English, right? And he's saying that he's talking about different perspectives.
La cultura del surf va un po' protetta.
So there's a need to protect surf culture. It's becoming too mainstream. So I'm going to save that again into my surf culture folder. Another good, so what I want to show you next is, for example, this slide I'm working on, where I'm going to say, so surf culture is becoming immersive and imaginative, but there's a dark side to it. This dark side is driven by some big global, big picture themes. Again, those are things that myself as a researcher have come up with doing my observation and being immersed in the space. So there's something about gender, women being told they can be anything, but the systems are built against them. There's something to do with gentrification, hybrid work, right? But how do I want to bring it to life really quickly by using the tool, right? So for example, I want to find evidence of this idea of gendered access. So I can come into the tool where I'm going to this feature called Who Said X, where I can find mentions of things like surfing being male dominated. And I know that this is a theme that's been recurring with a couple of our participants. And this tool enables me to really quickly find that theme and highlight it for me. So while this is loading, I'm going to show you this question that I've asked earlier, just to be prepared for this demo. So it took us straight to Jennifer, talking about, this is the bit we highlighted earlier, right? Guys dropping in on me because they see that I'm a girl. People yelling, etc. Right? So I'm gonna again save this into our surf culture page. And while this is loading, I want to show you how easy is it to organize our clips, right? So those are the clips that we've just created. Here we have the Jennifer talking about the unwelcoming attitude, and
yeah, I just don't really like that attitude. I think it's unwelcome.
And underestimating female surfers.
I see a lot of guys trying to drop in on me because they see that I'm a girl and they think.
So if I want to add this to my report, I can easily just download it here. And it will go straight into my download and I can drop it into my report. And you can see that it's already here with subtitles.
I see a lot of guys trying to drop in on me because they.
And now I can do, let's say I want to do the same with localism. I can go back to my question grid where there was a topic of localism. Here. I have Tazio talking about it, and let's see, Andy talks about the survival
it's a little
of the
bit
fittest.
survival of the fittest. Like the good service will always get the best waves.
Okay, let's create a clip from here, save it into the surf culture. I'm gonna call it localism. And well, that is currently buffering. While that's buffering, I want to show you this video that we've clipped in Italian on surf culture and how we enable working across different languages. So here, for example, we can translate the subtitle into English. So now this would be now reloaded with English subtitles. The localism video is now ready. So again, just one click, I'm going to download it and bring it into my presentation. Where I can easily play it back. And obviously this can be created in a sequence, for instance, where I could write an insight here, etc., about gendered access, about localism, and then back it up with my video content. The video content can also be created into a reel, so I can select multiple videos and then hit this button, create a reel, and let's call this a surf culture reel. So now these 3 videos have been stitched together, which I can also download and add to my presentation. In just a few clicks. Here we go.
And he said to
So
me,
we have Jennifer,
but I'm a port.
followed by Giacomo, and then Andy.
If you're in a spot.
I want to pause a second to see if there's any questions or thoughts. We still have a few minutes left. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep showing you around. But I want to take a minute to take any questions if there's any. Feel free to put them into chat or unmute yourself. No questions so far. Oh, one question in chat. What about focus groups? Yeah, great point. We do support both in-depth interviews and focus groups, as well as in-person ethnography. So as long as they're filmed. I don't have a focus group on this specific project per se, but I was testing Finnish language recording. So this is what it looked like in Finnish. but you see here it had multiple speakers. So we support different speaker assignments. So for example, if speaker, you see how it identified speaker 1, then a moderator, then speaker 2, speaker D, speaker 4. And here, for example, if we call speaker D Lucas, you will see how all of the instances of speaker D get modified into that name. So this is a YouTube video of somebody talk about surfing in Finnish. And again, just to show you, the power of the platform is one click away. We can translate the entire transcript into English and back to Finnish. This is also available in our question grid. So when we ask a question, for instance, what does surf culture mean to you? And we go to look for an answer from a participant who did not answer in English. So depending on the language in which we ask our question, we will get an answer in the same language. But obviously the source data will always be in the original language, right? So here we have Italian. But again, that is just one click away to be translated into English. Another cool feature is this button here at the top called Display Quotes, which transforms the entire grid from sort of AI answers to actual quotes. Right? So you see here, it's pulling straight from the transcript what Jennifer had to say about surf culture and history, about localism, negative view, and aggressive behaviors. Right? So this is a quicker way if you don't want to click through and look at the source data on the side. With a few minutes left, I want to show you something else I was working on, which is using Quallie to, obviously here we are retrieving information in a really quick way. We can ask very simple questions or very complicated questions. We can also import questions from a discussion guide. For instance, here we've uploaded the guide and he identified all the questions. For instance, tell me about yourself and your life outside surfing. So I can simply click that and it will import that question in here in this tab called Background and Life Outside Surf. So this is a quick way to import questions from your guide. But here I was using the platform to do some more advanced analysis, which, for instance, it's persona archetypes. So some of our users like to sync with the tool, right? And that, for example, they have their own way of defining a persona, right? So one of our clients is particularly keen on using sort of needs, frustrations, goals, and motivations to create personas. So you see here, I've asked, what are the respondents' core needs, frustration, goals, and motivations? And it generated an answer for each participant structured in that way, right? So the core need is consistent surf and ability to progress. And I can listen back to that.
Consistent level of surf and to live.
Here is the frustration, again, is aggression and localism that we talked about. But look at what we've done here. We've used this overview and we used the magic wand in the overview to create persona archetypes. So we said, create persona archetypes based on different needs, frustration, and motivations and brand preferences. For each persona, come up with an inspiring name that connects with the human and emotional element. So he came up with these names, right? So the adventurous digital nomad, the determined progressive surfer, the community-focused wave seeker, etc. So again, those are starting points, thought starters, ideas that you can bring into a workshop or a team collaboration session. But it does sort of make a good sparring partner for this kind of work as well. If there's any questions in the meantime, feel free to unmute and ask. One thing I wanted to show you was right here, coming back to these overviews on surf culture. As you can see, we have created some tags for our participants. So we've looked at surf level, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, different regions, gender. So if I go to my grid and I've asked a question on surf culture, I can get an analysis here by any of those tag categories that I've created. So here I can say, what does this look like? What does surf culture look like across different surf levels? So what this is going to do is going to create a new answer card to give us a cut on these overviews based on their surf levels. So I'm going to expect to see a beginner, intermediate, and advanced answer. It's thinking. While it's thinking, one of the things that makes Quallie quite unique is that when you're working with these overviews, you're fundamentally working in a silo where we're only using data from this specific project, and in particularly from what was mentioned in this row of answers by these different participants, right? So we're feeding only this very relevant information, and we're not taking information from the web. While it's thinking, I'm going to share something else with you. So as you can see here, there are different tabs at the top in the question grids where you can create different sets of questions. We see this used by teams where different teams can have their own spaces, sets of questions, or here, for instance, I was doing a jobs to be done analysis. Here I was doing persona archetypes. This is the one we're looking at together, surf culture. Yeah, here we go. So we can switch between answer cards with those arrows. So here we have our overview, so across all respondents. And then this is the one that's just been generated, where we have a breakdown by surf level. So we're seeing advanced surfers talk about those topics, right? David and Louis, there's the stereotype, etc., etc. And all of those are enumerated. So we count how many people are actually mentioning those themes: commercialization, fashion, social media, etc. And again, those are always hyperlinked. So I'm always have an opportunity to go back and listen to the voice of my participant and potentially even create a clip if I wanted to extract into a video. Question? Clear and useful? Who said X is a real life challenge with deep analysis? Yes, exactly. When you have many, thanks for that comment. So this feature here, who said X, particularly helpful when you have 20 plus interviews and you have to recognize a pattern. Yeah, thanks. That's a great comment. And yeah, this is all. This is the how to use Quallie in your research workflow to stay close to the voice of your customers and making the research more engaging and exciting with video clipping and subtitling and including those into your reports. If you want to try the platform, we're offering a free trial to all the participants in this webinar. So we can send you a reminder via email. And thanks so much for your time. If there's any final question, I'll be happy to take it. Otherwise, wish you a good rest of your evening. All right. Thanks, everyone.